When it comes to selecting one memorable passage in the magnanimous career of Billie Jean King, which one would you choose? The record 20 championships won at Wimbledon, defeating Bobby Riggs in the famed Battle of the Sexes, the first woman in the history of sports to win $100,000 in a single year, being one of 9 women to form the Virginia Slims Tour, becoming president of the Women's Tennis Association, the first tennis player named Sports Illustrated's Sportsperson of the Year, and the first female to ever receive the honor, being one of the first female athletes to disclose her homosexuality and champion LGBT rights, the founder of Women's Sports Magazine and the Women's Sports Foundation, Time Magazine's Woman of the Year, having the site of the US Open renamed in her honor, the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, earning the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 2009. Fact is, those highlights are but a thumbnail listing in the extraordinary life of Billie Jean King, both on and off the court. The depth of what she accomplished as a player and activist makes choosing one singular milestone impossible. Cumulatively, there have been few who have had a greater impact on their sport than Billie Jean King. On March 2, 2015, CNN posted an article entitled Leading Women, which connected readers to extraordinary women of our time, remarkable professionals who have made it to the top in all areas of business, arts, sport, culture, science, and more. King was one of 7 women profiled, along such immortals as author and anti-slavery campaigner Harriet Beecher Stowe, writer of Holocaust Diary Anne Frank, and Rosalind Franklin, scientists that helped the understanding of DNA. In the article, King was noted for her 39 major titles and, not surprisingly, her victory over Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes match in 1973. What CNN focused on was the impact the Riggs match had for women's equality as it played out before a worldwide television audience of 50 million. The facts that King helped form the Women's Tennis Association and her tireless campaign for equal prize money for female players were also prominently cited. There are 2 intertwined facets of King's career: what she accomplished on the court as the 3rd most successful female player in major tournament history, and how her single-minded determination provided equal footing for not just women's tennis players but all women's professional athletes. Outside of Margaret Court and Martina Navratilova, no player in history won more majors than Billie Jean King. She won 12 singles titles, 16 women's doubles, and 11 mixed doubles titles. In 1990, Life magazine named her one of the 100 most important Americans of the 20th century. Not important sporting figures, important American figures. The only other sports figures recognized were Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, and Muhammad Ali. In the Open era, King won 8 major singles titles, appeared in 12 finals and 28 quarterfinals. She won 129 singles titles, 62 as an amateur and 67 on the WTA Tour. If you roll back the clock and combine King's amateur and professional career, the numbers paint a picture of extraordinary success, though it took 7 years to become a masterpiece. King made her major debut at the US Nationals in 1959, but it was not until 1966 that she won her first major championship, defeating Maria Bueno in the Wimbledon Ladies Singles Championship 6-3, 3-6, 6-1. King played in 51 majors from 1959 through 1983, advancing to the semi-finals 27 times and the quarter-finals 40 times. She advanced to a major singles final 18 times, appeared in 29 doubles championship matches and 18 mixed doubles title matches. King's singles victory at the French Open in 1972 over Yvonne Goolagong 6-3, 6-3, which up until that point was the only major singles championship that had eluded her, enabled her to win a career Grand Slam, one of only 5 women at that time to achieve the feat. King's 1968 Mixed Doubles Championship at the Australian added a career Grand Slam in that category to her portfolio as well. Had she been able to win a women's title in Melbourne, King would have won a career Grand Slam box set in all three events: singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. King's story has been one of the most widely reported among sport's greatest athletes. At the age of 5, while washing dishes, she told her mother, "I am going to do something great with my life." And so she did. In 2009, she became the first female athlete to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama. In 1975, when her feverish major championship run ended, a readership poll in 17 magazine revealed that King was the most admired woman in the world. On New Year's Day 1975, music icon Elton John released his number one platinum hit Philadelphia Freedom in homage to his friend King and her world team tennis squad bearing same name. Elton John was such a devout fan of Billie Jean King, he would dress in the team's uniform and sit on the bench during matches. King was a co-founder of World Team Tennis. King was born Billie Jean Moffitt. She married lawyer Larry King in 1966 and was raised in Long Beach, California. King was a local phenomenon, beginning her competitive play on Long Beach public courts before attending Long Beach Polytechnic High School and then California State University, Los Angeles. The Moffitt family had plenty of athletic genes in the household, as brother Randy enjoyed an 11-year professional baseball career as a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros, and Toronto Blue Jays. King herself was a stalwart softball player. On 7th August 1960, King won her first tournament, defeating Carol Grabner at the Philadelphia and District Grass Court Championships in Philadelphia 6-1, 6-love. She won her last on 6 June 1983, defeating Alicia Moulton 6-love, 7-5 at the Edgbaston Cup in Birmingham, United Kingdom at the age of 39 years, 7 months and 23 days. Then the oldest player on the WTA Tour to win a title. In between, she would be the world number one ranked player 6 times. Her 1971 season was spectacular, winning 17 of 31 tournaments and compiling a 112 wins to 13 defeats record. When she defeated longtime doubles partner Rosie Casal 7-5-6-1 at the Virginia Slims Thunderbird Invitational in Phoenix, Arizona on September 27, 1971, King became the first women's player in history to earn $100,000 in prize money in a calendar year. For her career, King earned $1,966,487. King's ascent on the record books, particularly the Wimbledon record books, began in 1961 as a 17-year-old. She teamed with Karen Hanzi to win the Ladies Doubles Championship 6-3, 6-4 over Aussies Jan Lehan and Court. That victory jump-started King's 20 career titles in London, 6 coming in singles, 10 in doubles and 4 in mixed doubles. She shares the record for most titles at Wimbledon with Navratilova. In her 6 singles victories, King defeated Bueno, Anne Hayden, Judy Tegart, Gulagong and Chris Evert. King was a finalist in 1963, 1969 and 1970. Overall, King was 96 wins to 15 defeats at Wimbledon, 31 wins to 15 defeats against seeded players and never lost to an unseeded player in 65 encounters. She captured 4 US Nationals or US Open titles, winning her first in 1967 over Jones and 3 more after falling in the inaugural Open Era Championship to Virginia Wade 6-4, 6-2 in 1968. She defeated Casals in 1971, Kerry Melville in 1972 and Gulagong in 1974. Her lone Australian Open title came over Court in 1968. In her 12 major singles titles, King went 3 sets only twice, defeating Bueno for the 1966 Wimbledon title 6-3, 3-6, 6-1 and ousting Gulagong at the 1974 US Open 3-6, 6-3, 7-5. There was not one area of King's game that shined more than any other. She was as complete an all-court player as the women's game has ever seen. She played aggressively, hit her ground strokes with a purpose and was a tenacious net player. Her court speed was exceptional and her competitiveness was the edge that earned her a 695 wins to 155 defeats record in singles and an 87 wins to 37 defeats mark in doubles. King's all-court game made her an ideal doubles partner. 10 women's doubles titles came at Wimbledon, 5 at the US Nationals or US Open and 1 at the French Open. She was a finalist twice in Australia, Seven of her 16 titles came alongside fiery Casals, including three in New York, where King was a finalist 7 times. In mixed doubles, King won 4 times at Wimbledon, 4 times at the US Nationals or US Open, twice at the French Open, and once at the Australian Open. She teamed with Aussie Owen Davidson to win 8 of her 11 titles, 4 of them coming at Wimbledon. With the start of the Open era in 1968, Billie Jean King embarked on 2 of the 3 critical crusades that would define her career. In 1970, she was one of 9 female tennis players with steering from World Tennis magazine publisher Gladys Heldman, who sought to reduce the vast differences in prize money between male and female tennis players. The result of their efforts was the formation of the Virginia Slim Circuit, sponsored by fellow Hall of Famer and Philip Morris chairman Joe Cullen, which later became the Women's Tennis Association. The 9 players each signed a $1 contract and embraced the catchy slogan, "You've come a long way, baby." Her second bold statement came after she had won the 1972 US Open and had the bittersweet taste that her purse was $15,000 less than men's champion Ilie Nastase. King emphatically proclaimed that if the prize money was not equal the following year, she would not play and alluded that other women's players would follow. In 1973, the US Open became the first of the 4 majors to have equal prize money for the men's and women's champions. It took courage and conviction to take such a stand. 17 years later, King would be the recipient of the 1999 Arthur Ashe Courage Award, her conviction as a risk taker and lobbyist for equality a major factor in her selection. The third and perhaps most significant watershed moment in King's life came on September 20th, 1973 in the famous Battle of the Sexes match against Bobby Riggs. King, then 29, was cajoled into playing the hustler Riggs, who won the 1939 Wimbledon Gentlemen's Singles Championship. King was seeking atonement for Riggs ambushing Margaret Court in the famous Mother's Day Massacre 6261. Riggs hounded King with a $100,000 winner-take-all purse. Following his easy victory over Court, Riggs was overly cocky in preparing for King. He spent more time generating publicity and spouting off unfavorable comments directed toward women than he did training. He appeared in photo shoots as Henry VIII, played a pre-King match in drag, and treated the whole event as though it was a Las Vegas comedy act based on tasteless one-liners. He rarely stepped on a court and as a result was woefully out of shape and ironically unprepared when the match was played in the Houston Astrodome. King, meanwhile, was 36 years younger than Riggs and in the prime of her career. She trained relentlessly. Despite the differing preparations toward playing the Battle of the Sexes, legendary odds maker Jimmy the Greek tabbed Riggs a 5-2 favorite to win. Riggs rode into the Astrodome in a gilded rickshaw pulled by a bevy of beautiful women. King entered the proceedings like Cleopatra atop a gold litter held up by toga-wearing members of the Rice University's men's track team. She wore a specially designed dress created by Ted Tinling, actually a backup option to the first that did not feel right to King. It was a menthol green and sky blue outfit that King said felt absolutely perfect when I put it on. With Howard Cosell announcing, a record crowd of 30,492 spectators in attendance and a reported 50 million glued to the television sets, King dominated the match from the first point, quieting Riggs with a 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 victory. Years later, Riggs and King became friends, the remnants of Riggs' pre-match hyperbole about women and their place in society forgiven. It was reported that the two spoke a few days before Riggs died of prostate cancer in 1995. King was a member of 7 winning Fed Cup teams in 1963, 1966, 1967 and 1976 through 1979. She compiled a 52 wins to 4 defeats mark and won her last 30 straight matches. King captained the team to 4 victories in 1976, 1996, 1999 and 2000. She was honored with the Fed Cup Award of Excellence in 2010. Throughout her career, the number of accolades, honors and tributes King has received are in the dozens. A few notable ones are, in 1977 she was named by Harper's Bazaar magazine as one of the 10 most powerful women in America. She was an Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year selection in 1967 and 1973, and Sports Illustrated called her probably the most influential athlete of her time. King has been tennis's most outspoken advocate on women's rights, considered the figure most responsible for the growth of tennis in the United States and one of the sport's most colorful and controversial players. She has been widely considered as the role model for the 1972 passage of Title IX, which states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Writing in Sports Illustrated, Frank Deford penned, she has prominently affected the way 50% of society thinks and feels about itself in the vast area of physical exercise. Moreover, like Arnold Palmer, she had made a whole sports boom because of the singular force of her presence. In 1974, she wrote her autobiography, Billie Jean.